Too ugly to sell, they said about the alien girl. Then a human whispered, "You look like home." Jack slammed the hatch, the desert wind a raw, metallic scream behind them, churning up red dust and static. The mercenaries were still on their tail, their repulsor skiffs buzzing like angry hornets. He didn't look at the alien woman huddled beside him, her bioluminescent skin pulsing erratically in the dim emergency lights of his cobbled-together escape pod. Her name was Vithar, or something equally unpronounceable, and she was supposed to be a high-value asset, a trophy piece for the Black Sun Syndicate, until he'd accidentally blown her containment field during his own desperate escape. Well, that was almost graceful, he grunted, wiping sweat from his brow. You owe me a new escape trajectory, Princess. Her eyes, massive and multifaceted, glowed in the gloom, fixing on him with an intensity that felt like a physical blow. You move like a stunned Grak human, and you speak too much. Her voice was a low, resonant purr, an unsettling mix of power and something primal. It vibrated through the pod's thin hull. One of her hands, delicate yet scaled, twitched near a wicked-looking blade sheathed at her hip. The bond mark, a jagged scar of angry purple tissue, marred her left shoulder, hinting at a past he couldn't begin to comprehend. Exiled, the intel said. A disgraced enforcer. Now just another prize for sale. This is your vessel, she continued, and you are its pilot. Direct it or I will. Oh, you'll direct it, will you? Jack scoffed, forcing a grin. Last time you directed anything, we ended up in a gravity well. My ship, my rules, sweetheart. And right now, rule number 1 is don't get incinerated by xenomurks. He glanced at the main viewport. The arid magnetic desert stretched endlessly, littered with the skeletal remains of ancient metallic structures, like petrified lightning strikes. Their ship, the Dust Bunny, was little more than a cargo hauler retrofitted with a barely functional jump drive and a prayer. He flipped a few switches, trying to coax more speed from the battered engines. We need cover. Anything. A cave, a ditch, a goddamn sand dune that looks particularly inviting. Vithar's gaze swept over the console, then back to him. Her bioluminescence flared, patterns shifting across her skin like liquid starlight. Your systems are inefficient. Your maneuvers are predictable. She reached out, a long, slender finger brushing a control panel. This is a direct link input. Superior. My people integrate with machines. You merely operate them. Her tone was dismissive, yet there was a flicker of something in her eyes, a predatory curiosity. The Syndicate had called her unsellable because of her defiance, her wildness. Too savage. But Jack saw something else. Raw power. A spirit that refused to be broken. Listen, if you're so smart, why were you in a goddamn cage? Jax shot back, his fingers dancing over the controls, attempting a tricky evasion. The Dust Bunny bucked violently as a plasma bolt grazed their port side. Alarms blared. And what the hell is that? He gestured to her hand, which now rested on the comms panel, her touch sending ripples of static through the audio. Her skin felt strangely warm beneath his fingertips as he moved to push her hand away. She didn't flinch. Instead, her fingers tightened, a surprising grip. A cage is merely a temporary restriction, human. A test of will. You, on the other hand, are free, yet bound by your own incompetence. Her bioluminescent patterns intensified, a complex web of blue and silver lines tracing the elegant curves of her neck and shoulders. Her voice deepened. Do not touch my conduits unless invited. It is a gesture of claiming. Jax blinked. Claiming? Sweetheart, I'm just trying to keep us from becoming space dust. There's no claiming happening here unless it's the mercs claiming my salvage rights. He wrestled the joystick, swinging the Dust Bunny into a desperate dive, heading for a cluster of jagged, magnetic rock formations in the distance. The air shimmered. He could feel the pulse of the enemy engines closing in. This was it. No more escape. Only a fight. He braced for impact, the ship groaning under the strain. Vithar remained eerily still, her glowing eyes fixed on him. This salvage belongs to the victor. Do you intend to fall? Her words were a challenge, an ancient primal demand. My kind does not surrender. Good thing I'm not your kind then, is it? Jax snarled, teeth gritted, pushing the Dust Bunny to its absolute limit. The magnetic field from the rock formations was tearing at the ship's systems, creating a furious shriek of feedback. He needed to get inside, find cover, any cover, before they were blasted into oblivion. He risked a glance at her. The light from her skin cast strange dancing shadows on the bulkheads. She was beautiful in a terrifying, alien way. Definitely not from around here. Definitely dangerous. His hands tightened on the controls. Hold on, alien queen. This is gonna be a bumpy ride. The ship screamed as they hit the outer magnetic field, shields flaring red, then purple, before dying completely. The impact was violent, the dust bunny slamming into the side of a massive, ancient structure, a crumbling archway of solidified iron sand. Debris showered around them, sparks flying. Jax was thrown against the console, pain flaring in his shoulder. He tasted blood. Well, that could have gone worse, he coughed, pushing himself up, his head swimming. We're alive, which is, a bonus. Vithar, however, was already moving, agile as a predator. She was at the crumpled hatch, her eyes scanning the shattered landscape beyond. The air outside crackled with magnetic energy, distorting the Merc's distant engines. They will follow. They track the residual energy signature from your bumpy ride. Her words were clipped, devoid of the sarcastic banter he'd expected. Her focus was absolute. We must seek deeper sanctuary. This shell will not withstand their next volley. Sanctuary, right? As if this godforsaken dust ball has anything other than more dust, Jax muttered, rubbing his bruised ribs. He stumbled after her as she forced open the damaged hatch, the searing desert wind whipping inside. The magnetic sands pulsed with an eerie light, reflecting off the towering, eroded monuments around them. They were in the heart of a ruin, a city swallowed by the desert, built from metallic, magnetic rock. It felt ancient, hungry. Vithar was already halfway through the opening, her lean frame disappearing into the swirling sand. The Ancient Ones built strong. Their knowledge will shield us. He followed, cursing under his breath. He hated ruins. They always had traps, or worse, things that like to eat trespassers. Knowledge won't stop plasma bolts, sweetheart, he yelled over the howling wind. What we need is a plan that doesn't involve us becoming archaeological finds. She ignored him, her bioluminescence intensifying as they ventured deeper into the maze of magnetic stone. The air grew heavier, thick with the scent of ozone and something else, something primal and earthy. It pulled at him, a strange, undeniable hum. Your scent is strong, human, and persistent, like a marker. My scent. That's probably just fear and desperation mixed with cheap recycled air, Jax retorted, pushing past a crumbling pillar. The ruins stretched on, a network of tunnels and chambers, each one echoing with the desert's desolate song. He could feel the magnetic fields pulling at his tech, making his comms useless, his navigation erratic. He was blind, and she was leading. His gun felt heavy in his hand, a cold comfort. She stopped abruptly in a larger cavern, its walls etched with glowing geometric patterns. The air here was strangely still, warm. The pulsing magnetic fields seemed to converge. They cannot penetrate this far. Not yet. Her voice was softer now, almost a hum, blending with the subtle thrum of the ancient stones. Her eyes, usually so sharp, seemed distant, almost lost in thought. She ran a hand over a glowing symbol on the wall. This place, it resonates with the old ways. Old ways, new ways. As long as it keeps us from becoming paste, Jax grumbled, leaning against a rough-hewn wall. His body ached. He looked at her, truly looked. The intricate patterns of light on her skin were mesmerizing, flowing and shifting like a living current. The curve of her hip, the lean strength of her limbs, the dangerous grace in her posture. She was a creature of pure, unadulterated alien beauty. What's with the light show anyway? You some kind of living glow stick? Vithar turned, her head tilted, a strange expression on her face. It is how my kind communicates, how we feel, how we are, a reflection of our internal energies. Your glow stick is a connection to the very pulse of my being. Her hand, still glowing, reached out, hovering near his chest. Her gaze was intense, analytical, almost possessive. You are surprisingly resilient for a soft-skinned creature. Your internal rhythms are chaotic yet compelling. Jax shifted uncomfortably, the air suddenly thick with unsaid things. Her touch, or the promise of it, sent a jolt through him. Resilient is one word for it. Too stubborn to die is another. He forced a laugh, but it sounded hollow. This close, he could smell her. An intoxicating blend of ozone, something earthy, and a faint sweet spice. It was unsettling. He cleared his throat. So, what's the plan, Empress? Sit here and hum until they get bored? The plan, human, is survival, and perhaps adaptation. Her glowing fingers traced an invisible line in the air between them. Her voice dropped, a low, guttural growl that sent shivers down his spine. You emit a frequency. A distress signal, perhaps? Or a challenge. My ancestors used such signals to find suitable mates. It is a primal call. Jax's eyes widened. Primal call? Lady, the only signal I'm putting out is get me the hell out of here. And I'm pretty sure it's not a mating call. Unless your species mates by panicking and swearing a lot. He gestured vaguely at himself. Because if so, I'm probably the most potent stud in the galaxy right now. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. Awkward. Very awkward. Vithar's luminous eyes narrowed and a faint, amused hum vibrated through the cavern. Your panicking and swearing are surprisingly effective. They speak of an untamed energy, a fertile chaos. My elders would be intrigued. She took a step closer, her body language radiating a quiet, undeniable power. Her voice, still low, became a silken whisper. Do you understand, fertile? The joining of life? The propagation of your kind? Jax swallowed hard, his sarcasm faltering. I understand, fertile, yes, but I'm pretty sure we're having a basic communication breakdown here. We're on the run, right? From people who want to turn us into goo? Not exactly prime time for genetic diversity. He tried to sound dismissive, but the magnetic field in the chamber was making his head fuzzy, and the heat rising from the ancient stone floor was becoming oppressive. He felt a strange dizziness, a deep thrumming in his bones. Her head tilted, her gaze unwavering. The pursuit itself is the test, the danger, the crucible. It proves strength, worth. My people, the Calaxi, embrace such trials. They prove one is deserving of a bond. Her bioluminescence flared again, swirling patterns of blue and gold across her abdomen. The bond mark on my shoulder. It is a symbol of a failed challenge, of exile. It can only be cleansed by a successful union. A failed challenge? Union? Look, I'm just a smuggler, all right? I deliver packages usually without getting shot at or propositioned by glowing alien women, Jax said, running a hand through his hair. The heat was becoming unbearable, a thick, suffocating blanket that pressed down on him. The air thrummed, almost vibrating with the intense magnetic energy. He could feel sweat trickling down his back, his clothes clinging uncomfortably. His skin felt like it was buzzing. Is it just me, or is it getting really hot in here? Vithar closed the distance between them. Her scent, previously subtle, now overwhelming, intoxicating. It filled his lungs, invading his senses. He felt a deep, almost painful thrumming in his groin. Her eyes, liquid and luminous, burned into his. The Ancient Ones built these chambers to amplify the world's energies, to forge and to ignite. Her voice was a low growl, barely audible above the rising hum of the cavern. Your heat is merely your body responding, as is mine. Her hand, warm and strangely electric, settled on his chest, directly over his racing heart. Her touch sent a jolt through him, a searing current that spread through his veins. Your core energy is volatile, unfocused, but powerful. Her fingers splayed, feeling the frantic beat beneath his ribs. The bioluminescence on her hand pulsed in sync with his heart. His own skin felt flush, hypersensitive. Every nerve ending seemed to vibrate. This wasn't just physical heat. It was something else, something primal and deeply unsettling. What are you doing? Jax gasped, his voice hoarse, a strange lethargy creeping into his limbs despite the frantic pounding of his heart. His eyes were drawn to the swirling patterns on her abdomen, now pulsing with a hypnotic rhythm. He couldn't look away. The air shimmered around them, thick with her unique scent, making his head spin. I didn't sign up for this. Her other hand rose, cupping his jaw, her thumb brushing over his lips. Her touch was possessive, almost reverent. You signed up for survival, human. My survival. And in this place, under these conditions, My survival requires balance, a resonance. Your body screams for it. Her glowing face was impossibly close, her multifaceted eyes reflecting his own bewildered gaze. Your species, so resistant to its own primal urges. A fascinating flaw. A flaw? He tried to sound angry, but his voice cracked. His body was betraying him, responding to the heat, to her presence, with an undeniable, aching need. He felt a flush of shame, quickly buried under a wave of raw, instinctual desire. This was insane. He was an accidental liberator, not a damn mating candidate. But God, her fingers on his jaw, the taste of ozone in the air, the desperate thrumming of his own body. Vithar's lips parted, revealing rows of small, sharp teeth, beautiful in their alien precision. Do not fight the flow, human. It will only bring you pain. This chamber, this energy, it demands completion. A shared pulse, a joining. Her hand slid lower on his chest, her fingers brushing the hard ridge of his abs, her touch sending a white-hot spear of sensation through him. My people call this the flesh forge, where two become one, tempered by fire. The flesh forge, Jax choked out, his mind reeling. His internal thoughts were a chaotic mess of alarm bells and primal urges. He was dangerously aroused, a condition he knew was entirely unwelcome given their circumstances. But she was right. His body was screaming. His breath hitched as her hand moved lower, finding him, her touch a searing brand through his flight suit. God damn it, this is not how I do things. Your how you do things has led you here. To me. To this, Vithar purred, her voice a deep, vibrating hum. The bioluminescence on her skin flared, a cascade of liquid light. Resistance is pointless. Surrender, human. Let the currents claim you. Her fingers were skilled, shockingly so, exploring him through the fabric, generating friction that was both painful and exquisitely pleasurable. He gasped, his back arching slightly. The heat, the scent, her touch. It was a sensory overload, stripping away his logic, leaving only raw instinct. He wanted to fight, to run, but his legs felt like lead, his mind clouded by the intoxicating rush. This was a nightmare, a beautiful, terrifying, inescapable nightmare. Her body pressed against his, the hard alien curves of her form molding to his, the bioluminescent patterns on her skin flickering against his own. He felt the subtle shift of her weight, the powerful flex of her muscles as she maneuvered him, guiding him back against the rough stone wall. The rock was warm against his back, absorbing the heat radiating from their entwined bodies. Her lips, soft and surprisingly tender, brushed his, a feather-light touch that promised so much more. Vithar's eyes, luminous and unblinking, bored into his, a silent challenge, a primal invitation. Your body accepts, human, even as your mind argues. Which will you obey? Her scent, potent and musky, filled his nostrils, drowning out all other thoughts. It was the scent of danger, of power, of pure, untamed alien female. He felt himself tremble, a mix of fear and an undeniable, overwhelming desire. He'd never been so utterly, completely out of his depth. Her mouth, warm and wet, pressed fully against his, then a slow, deliberate claiming. Her teeth, small and sharp, grazed his lower lip, a gentle bite that sent a shiver through him. He groaned, a deep, guttural sound he barely recognized as his own. His hands, almost without conscious thought, found purchase on her hips, his fingers digging into the firm, alien flesh beneath the thin, flexible material of her suit. He felt the ripple of muscles, the subtle shift of her luminous skin beneath his touch. She responded with a low, throaty purr, her tongue tracing the line of his lips, teasing, tasting. Her bioluminescent pattern swirled faster, a dazzling display of light and shadow, reflecting the intensity of her internal energy. He felt a strange vibration in his core, a resonance with her, a deep hum that spread through his entire being. This wasn't just touch. It was an invasion, a complete surrender of his senses. Vithar pulled back slightly, just enough for her glowing eyes to lock with his. Her voice was a raw, primal whisper. Your scent grows stronger, human. A declaration, a yielding. Her fingers, still on him, moved with deliberate slowness, shedding the last thin barrier of his flight suit, exposing his skin to the searing heat of the chamber, to the electric touch of her own. He gasped as her cool, alien fingers brushed against his sensitive skin, the contrast agonizingly exquisite. Yielding, Jax breathed, his voice thick with raw need. His entire body was aflame, every nerve ending screaming. He couldn't think, couldn't protest. The heat of the chamber, the overwhelming scent, her touch, it had stripped him bare, leaving only the instinctual animal beneath. He wanted her, with a desperate, primal hunger that shocked him. God, Vithar. She lowered her head, her lips trailing down his jaw to his throat, her sharp teeth nipping gently, possessively. The sensation was exquisite, bordering on pain, driving him further into the wall, further into surrender. You are mine, human. By ritual, by instinct, by the call of this place. Her luminous hand found him again, hot and insistent, and she leaned into him, pressing her entire body against his, her curves molding perfectly to his form. The bioluminescent patterns on her skin pulsed against his, a living, breathing light show that reflected the rising tide of sensation. He felt her shift, her strong alien leg pushing between his, creating an intimate friction that made him groan aloud. Her movements became more deliberate, more demanding. He felt the hard, almost metallic texture of her skin against his, the surprising give of her supple flesh beneath the bioluminescent patterns. She was all instinct, all primal drive, guiding him, pushing him, his hands tangled in her hair, pulling her closer, desperate for more. He felt the intense friction, the delicious pressure as she lowered herself onto him, taking him with a guttural growl that echoed the ancient chamber's hum. The fit was impossibly tight, searing hot, an exquisite agony. Jax cried out, his voice hoarse as he filled her, his body arching, driven by a force beyond his control. Her internal muscles clenched around him, a powerful milking sensation that stole his breath. He could feel the slick heat, the raw, visceral connection. Her bioluminescence flared around them, engulfing them in a blinding light, a vortex of swirling blues and golds. Her thoughts, a raw, primal flood. He was strong, unrefined, but potent. His essence, chaotic and vibrant, mingled with hers, a perfect storm of energy. The bond mark on her shoulder throbbed, no longer a mark of shame, but a burning anticipation. He fought, but his body submitted, his essence joining hers, flowing into her, a testament to his primal strength. Claimed. Her being vibrated with the word. Claimed. By the heat of the forge, by the ancient call. The rhythm was primal, demanding as she moved against him, her body a blur of light and sensation. Each thrust was a deeper penetration, a more profound melding of their different anatomies. Jax felt himself spiraling, lost in the overwhelming sensations, the primal need. He clung to her, his fingers digging into her back, desperate to anchor himself in the maelstrom. Her scent, her taste, the sight of her luminous skin, it was all-consuming. He felt a deep, almost painful throb within her, a strange electric current that pulsed through their entwined bodies. It was a telepathic resonance, a direct link between their most primal centers, syncing their frantic heartbeats, their ragged breaths. With a final desperate cry, Vithar arched against him, her body convulsing, her bioluminescence flaring brighter than ever before, engulfing them in a blinding nova. He felt a sudden, intense heat, a searing pressure on his skin, then a strange, almost painful burning sensation on his chest, directly over his heart. He gasped, his own climax tearing through him, a wave of incandescent pleasure and raw, animalistic release that left him shuddering, breathless. He collapsed against her, his body spent, his mind a hazy fog of pure sensation. The ancient chamber thrummed around them, echoing their shared release. His skin felt marked, branded by her touch, by their union. A moment later, the blinding light receded, leaving them in the dim, pulsing glow of the cavern. Jax lay breathless against the cold stone, Vithar heavy on top of him. Her bioluminescence had dimmed, but a new pattern, faint at first, was beginning to emerge on her skin. A twin to the mark on her shoulder, now mirrored on his chest. A subtle, shimmering design, deep purple, the bond mark. His heart pounded, not just from exertion, but from the terrifying realization. He was marked, claimed, by an alien in an ancient magnetic desert while being hunted by mercenaries. "Holy shit," he whispered, staring at the swirling alien mark on his skin. "What the hell did you do?" Vithar stirred, shifting her weight. Her eyes, though still glowing, now held a strange softness. "The bond is forged, human. In the flesh forge. By heat, by desire, by shared life." Her voice was still husky, but devoid of its earlier commanding edge. It was possessive, but also strangely tender. "You are now a part of me, as I am of you." Her hand, warm and strangely electric, settled over the mark on his chest, almost as if she were reassuring it. Or him. "The cleansing has begun. The exile is eased." He tried to push her away, a reflex, but she held him fast, her strength absolute despite their shared exhaustion. "Part of you? What does that even mean? I'm not a souvenir, Vithar, and what's this mark? Is it like permanent? Am I glowing now?" He traced the pattern on his chest, a strange mix of fascination and horror warring inside him. The thought of being permanently linked to this wild, unpredictable alien sent a jolt of panic through him. A distant rumble shook the cavern. The mercenaries. They were closer, their ship's engines a low, persistent hum, reverberating through the rock. Vithar's head snapped up, her senses instantly honed. Her soft expression vanished, replaced by the fierce, predatory gaze he'd first seen. "They come. They seek what is mine." Her voice had dropped, taking on a dangerous, protective edge. "You are mine, human, and I will not surrender my claim." Jack stared at her, then back at the pulsing mark on his chest. "Mine." She said, "Mine." And then, inexplicably, a strange calm settled over him. He was tired of running, tired of being alone. This alien, this impossible, dangerous creature, had just claimed him. And something deep inside, something primal he hadn't known existed, resonated with that claim. He gritted his teeth. "Mine, huh? You gonna fight for your property then, princess?" Bethar's luminous eyes burned with a fierce, unwavering resolve. She shifted, rising to her knees, her lithe body radiating lethal grace. "My kind fights for what is claimed, for what is bonded. To lose a mate is to lose honor, life force." She looked at him, then to the entrance of the chamber, her gaze hardening. "You will stand with me, you will fight, as is the way of the newly bonded." Her voice was no longer a purr, but a low, dangerous growl. He pushed himself up, wincing as his muscles protested. The mark on his chest pulsed with a dull ache, a constant reminder of their bizarre union. He looked at her, at the raw power she exuded, the fierce protection in her eyes. It was insane. It was terrifying. But it was also something real. "Right," he muttered, forcing a grim smile. "Newly bonded. Great. And here I thought my problems couldn't get any worse." He grabbed his pistol, checking the power cell. "All right, Vithar. Let's show these assholes what happens when you try to steal from a guilt-ridden smuggler and his incredibly possessive alien bride." He heard her subtle, pleased hum. The first mercenary, a hulking, four-armed brute, burst into the chamber, plasma rifle raised. Vithar launched herself forward, a blur of bioluminescent fury, her movements fluid and deadly. She moved with a speed he hadn't anticipated, a true predator. Jax watched, momentarily stunned as she disarmed the merc, then used its own weapon to blast another of its comrades. The air filled with acrid smoke, and the screams of dying synthetics. "They dared to take what was mine," she roared, her voice echoing in the chamber, a furious declaration of ownership. Her bioluminescence flared, dazzling and terrifying. Jax, shaking off his shock, joined the fray, emptying his pistol into the remaining mercs. He fought with a renewed ferocity, a strange, almost protective instinct surging through him. This was his fight now, his alien. And damn it, no one was taking what was his. They moved together, a strange, chaotic dance of alien grace and human brute force. Vithar's attacks were precise, lethal, disarming, while Jax laid down cover fire, taking down targets she stunned. The bond mark on his chest throbbed, a constant low pulse, connecting him to her every move, her every furious breath. This wasn't just a fight for survival. It was a declaration. Finally, the last merc fell, its body sizzling on the magnetic rock. Silence descended, broken only by their ragged breathing and the faint hum of the ancient chamber. Vidar turned to him, her luminous eyes intense, unblinking. Her skin still pulsed with light, but the furious red had receded, replaced by a softer, more stable gold. She walked towards him, her gait slow, deliberate, like a hunter approaching its prize. The scent of ozone and her unique pheromones filled the air, heavy with the aftermath of battle, and something else, something profoundly intimate. "You fought well, human," she said, her voice a low, throaty rumble laced with something that sounded suspiciously like approval. "Your guilt makes you reckless, but your smuggling has made you efficient. Your chaos, it is balanced by my precision." She reached out, her glowing hand brushing the still pulsing mark on his chest. It felt warm, tingly. The bond is strong, irrevocable. Jax, still catching his breath, looked down at the mark, then back at her. Her eyes held a depth he hadn't seen before, a flash of vulnerability beneath the warrior's facade. "Irrevocable, huh? So, I'm stuck with you then, alien queen?" He tried for sarcasm, but his voice was softer than he intended. The fight, the bond, had changed something in him. The crushing weight of his past guilt felt lighter, almost gone, replaced by a strange sense of purpose, of belonging. Vithar's lips curved into something that might have been a smile, a flash of sharp teeth. "You are not stuck, human. You are claimed, possessed, cherished." Her hand slid from his chest to cup his jaw, her thumb caressing his cheek. Her luminous gaze held his, unwavering. "When they called me too ugly to sell, they saw only a broken cage beast. They did not see the potential for true strength. The bond, but you saw something else." His eyes met hers, and in that moment, standing in the heart of a magnetic desert ruin, surrounded by the corpses of mercs, with a permanent alien mark on his chest, he realized the truth. He'd been running his whole life, searching for a place to hide, a way to forget. But he'd found something else entirely. He reached up, covering her hand with his own. The alien patterns on his chest pulsed softly. He looked into her luminous eyes, beautiful and ancient and utterly, impossibly alien. And then he whispered the words raw and true. "You look like home."